Nothing beats warming up in the morning like a good cup of coffee. But don't worry, because if coffee isn't your jam, maybe healing will, because healing has changed in Midnight and it has convinced a true hater of the healing role to maybe come back and actually consider remaining a healer. But which one is the best? Which one is the most fun healer? Of course, from our subjective opinion, and we're not necessarily looking at the numbers, although it is important to feel like the heals that you're dishing out are saving everybody. So we're gonna be looking at all of the healers that we've played through Alpha and Beta, through all of the Mythic Plus available at this time, of course, and rank them. And we're gonna start off with Resto Shaman. Boy, oh boy, I have never felt more like a fraud when I judged Resto Shaman first. And it did take the point of at least one of our community members to make it clear that, bro, not only do you suck, but you're also doing it wrong. And it goes to show how obscure some things can change, and it definitely kind of skews the value of the class pruning, which is supposed to make some things a little bit more intuitive. And it doesn't do it for all the healers. And if anything, when it comes to healing, I'm just gonna rank this up so that we can have some perspective. When it comes to healing, healers are the ones that are maybe more complicated than any other spec in the game based off how their interaction is. Not compared to the War Within, but compared to the rest of the Midnight specs. Now, Resto Shaman is S tier because they did simple actually right, and I was very conflicted since Resto Shaman is probably my most played healer ever, my main healer ever, and I lost a lot of the flavor that I'm still sad about. Listen, I'm not happy about losing about 7 totems because totems is my jam. However, with the new Apex talents and playing Totemic, I actually feel more connected to the remaining totems, and that's great, and I want more of that, and I'm hoping that maybe a little bit later down the line we'll get 1 or 2 more new toys. But it does feel great. Shooting out chain heals with Totemic feels incredible, and if you do play Farseer, of course, spawning those ancestors and having them replicate your spells is also great, and I'm hoping that more power of the War Within tier set of ancestors is baked into the spec eventually at some point, because we cannot go back to ancestors being weaker than they were before. Similar to Discipline Priest, boy oh boy. Okay, so Discipline, I don't think I can rank it just as high as Resto Shaman so far, because Void Weaver, I would say. Okay, Void Weaver is fine-ish, but I definitely struggled. It could be a numbers thing, but I'm not necessarily sure it is a numbers thing. Now, Void Weaver is still probably good, especially for the main Discipline Priests out there that I can pull it off. You can definitely keep people up, and it is fun to go through the Atonement Healing DPS rotation, and I love it. The Atonement Healing seems to not be able to keep up with the raw damage. Even if I do my setup from what I imagine correctly and everybody has Atonement, I'm buffing my damage, I'm shooting those Entropic Rifts, and then I'm blasting, I don't feel like I can keep people up through regular raw damage phases of dungeon bosses. I don't know how it's gonna be in raid, we'll probably have to wait and see. And that doesn't really feel that great. Granted, Entropic Rift is something that you have access to pretty often, but maybe they need to increase the cooldown of it and make it stronger so that I can actually accomplish things with it. That's just my basic, I was gonna say basic bitch, but basic healer approach opinion to Discipline Priest. However, Oracle, mwah, chef's kiss, brother. I have taken all of the big, meaty, shieldy talents that I could, together with the Apex Void Shields and the buffs to Power Word Shield from Oracle, and dude, I was cranking out shields almost half of the bar of an HP of a party. That's a mouthful of words. The shields were almost half of an HP bar. That was crazy considering that I can put it on 3 people, and of course that had to be from crit, so I would imagine Oracle is 100% gonna play crit, because the shields are just really good unless they somehow nerf it, and I hope they don't, because it is fun to build up with Wheel and Woe to those big fat shields, get a Void Shield proc, slap it on my party, and I can do this once every, what, 10-15 seconds? Now that's way more reliable than Entropic Rift, and it definitely felt like I was in control, and it felt good to be a healer. It felt, okay, sure, maybe people can have some self-sustain, but I'm actually the one keeping them alive. That was definitely the case with Discipline Priest. Speaking of keeping people alive, our supporters of the channel are keeping us alive by liking the videos that we make and subscribing to the channel to make it bigger. We've actually gotten more subscribers in the last 2 months than we did in 2 years, and that's very humbling and reassuring. Maybe we can hit 200k by the end of the year, but we are super grateful to you guys for keeping the channel alive, and it definitely helps us do more cool stuff. It opens up opportunity for us, you know, do interview devs and go to events and stuff like that, and that's all because of you. We love you so much. And if you want to support us a little bit even more, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/Marcelian&Flame, where we do a lot of goodies as much as time allows, because we're like swamped with alpha, beta, and all of the things coming up right now. But we do exclusive early access videos, wallpapers, 4K glorious resolution for the Patreons, and we are very appreciative for your support. I'm so nervous right now talking about this, but thank you very much. We love you. Let's go back to Holy Paladin. And this was actually, I have to put it in front of Resto Shaman because I have to send a message out there. Now, listen, I understand, and I think this is a good time to talk about it, that a lot of people don't like the pruning. A lot of people felt like their classes have been stripped away from the things that they enjoyed. And I agree. I actually am with you on that. But times change. So you either get with the times or find another game to play. I mean, this sounds like an assholey thing to say, and I don't necessarily mean it that way, but no class is going to be the same as it is in the World Within. And if you are looking, and I keep saying this over and over through different platforms that we have, if your goal, if what you like about the game is complexity, depth, skill expression, you're probably not gonna like any of the specs going to Midnight. No, not just healers or DPS, any, all of them are simpler. Skill expression is probably going to shift to other parts of the game, but in terms of like rotation and spec expression, let's say, that's gone. And it's true with Holy Paladin as well. However, what they're doing to Holy Paladin, I don't know if this is accidental or if this is definitely intended, and I pray it's to the light that it is intended, because I actually felt like I could keep people alive and didn't need cooldowns all the time. Obviously, for big damage events, you still need to pop your wings, you still need to pop your Aura Mastery or whatever else you use, Divine Toll, Holy Prism, or Beacon of Virtue, play with them all. But occasionally somebody just taking damage and me healing with Holy Light is incredible. And I think one of the bigger talents that influences this is Divine Overload, which is a new talent, and this makes Holy Light heal for more and crit for even more, I'm pretty sure, where Holy Light, actually I crit for Holy Light for about 200,000. Now 200,000 doesn't mean anything to you, does it? Because it's a whatever number, but seeing as how people have about 400,000 HP at max level with current season 1 gear, it's around that, give or take, then that's just half of somebody's HP as a crit, right? Obviously it's not the lay on hands or anything like that, but it is very reassuring, and I can see that from the tooltip. I don't have to look at the tooltip and figure out how is this spell doing 7 times this healing, right? Because I am so done with that stuff. And that's just one of it. The fact that I could actually play Holy Paladin from range and keep people up, that was fun for me. I am the Melee Crusader fanboy. I like being up close and personal, don't get me wrong, but if I want that to be a choice, I don't want it to be the only way to play. And let me tell you, the bosses, I think it was Cedar the Triumvirate, I think pretty much all bosses, but particularly maybe the first one and maybe the third one, they just put like a lot of circles that you just have to move out of it. It could be just bosses, could be just specs, and I cannot, you know, go there in melee and do my thing. I don't have Crusader Strike anymore, so that doesn't really matter. But being at range where it's safe and just healing people with Flashlight and Holy Light and seeing their HP go up, and I also get Holy Power and I spend it on Word of Glory and they go up even more, it sounds so simple and so granted that we kind of forgot about it over the years. So that felt great, and I felt like an actual Holy Paladin, and not just a Holy Shock and Crusader Strike dispenser and healing through doing damage. I'm happy that Holy Lights are actually healing for a lot. Yay, Holy Paladins. Now, Holy Priest is definitely the least amount of fun that I have had, but that's probably because it has been my least favorite healer over the years. And I want to be very fair to it and not just input my personal bias 100%, so I'm going to be as fair as I can. Now, with Holy Priest, I did struggle the most keeping people up. I think it was with Oracle until I kind of figured it out, but mostly with Oracle, because Oracle is just tied to Prayer of Mending. Now, maybe this is the identity of Holy Priest, and if it's something that you like about Holy Priest, then I don't want to trash it, but I think it is terrible. It is the most boring, unholy priesty ability ever. Listen, Holy Priest is cranking those big heals, like Holy Life from Holy Paladin shouldn't have anything on Holy Priest's heal, which we don't have anymore. And that's weird, because if there's one spec that needs to have that big castable heal that just chunks HP bars, it should be Holy Priest, and that's not the case. So it's shifting into a direction. I'm not a fan of spamming Prayer of Mending. I don't see gameplay-wise an interesting difference between Renew spamming and Prayer of Mending spamming. Maybe it's not doing as much healing as possible, but even if it does, this is kind of like a hot, right? It's not a hot in that it trickles like every second a little bit of healing, but it heals over a duration, which is the definition of a hot. That's not why I play Holy Priest, bro. I want my heal back. I want greater heal back, but that's been gone for years, so who even cares about that? I do have Holy Word, Power Word, Serenity, not Holy Word. Is it Holy Word or is it Power Word? I think it's Holy Word. Holy Word, Serenity, doesn't matter. Serenity and Sanctify. And those are still mildly chunky, but still Holy Paladin is by raw amounts healing for more than Holy Priest, unless I'm doing something wrong. And I shouldn't be, because this should be the simple healer. This should be the quintessential identity of healing in World of Warcraft, and anybody that's hopping into the game should be able to like, look, oh, Holy Priest, this is my entry level healer, right? And it doesn't feel that way. I'm not sure where this is. Now, granted, Archon is definitely way more fun. Halo is actually a chunky ability, and playing with Surge of Light mechanics is definitely way more interesting, but that still doesn't really feel necessarily like a Holy Priest identity. And I'm conflicted. I want to put it into C tier. This is like, Archon is around B tier and Oracle is a little bit around F tier. Considering what Oracle does for Holy Priest on live and what Oracle does for Discipline Priest in Midnight, what it does right now for Holy Priest is just not my cup of tea. If you like it, that's great. I'm happy for you, but it's not. Now, we have a problem with this next healer, because this is why it's kind of hard for us to do tier lists with beta, because they're so wild. So I don't know if this is a bug or if this is a tuning gone wrong, but Mistweaver is really broken. And if you're upset that I'm drawing spotlight on this, then you're out of your mind if you think you can crit for 1 million healing with Shaylon's gift. Gift of Shaylon? Whatever it's called, on people with 400,000 HP. Are you mad? This is crazy. Obviously, this is really broken, but I do have to say that this made me realize what's missing from healers to bring people back. Either ex-healers that are just had enough with healing, or new people to feel like, oh my god, healing, this looks pretty good. Like, I'm saving people. This is why I like the class. And that is chunky heals, reliable heals that you don't have to spend a kidney to get, and then whenever stuff happens, you can actually throw them out and save somebody. Obviously, not heal for double the HP bar of a person. That's just wild. Obviously, that's not gonna stick. Don't you worry. I'm not doing any misfavors. Bro, I cannot talk to that. I think I need a little bit of coffee. It's actually kind of hard to sip that loudly so the microphone can pick it up. But it does point out that, oh my god, we need chunky heals. We need them to not be behind 3 layers of cooldowns and 17 procs, and unfortunately, Mistweaver is still there. It is fun. Mistweaver is just really fun. Like, no matter what happens, Mistweaver is really fun, and that's why it's in B tier, otherwise it would be lower, because it retained its complexity. And I feel like this whole discussion of, bro, these specs are way over-designed, is an old discussion, is years long, but I think it's started to really pick up steam with a video that one of the best healers in the world made, Theon, I think is the guide writer for Resto Shaman, about how complex healers are, and this was in the War Within, and it was the meme of the tooltips, where if you take an add-on that shows the full tooltip of an ability with everything that it does and every synergy that it has, Mistweaver was the example that was given for the Renewing Mist tooltip being so big it didn't fit on your screen. That hasn't changed almost at all, and that's weird, because if there was one healer that needed pruning in the way that it's passives, interactions, and synergies work, it would have to be Mistweaver Monk, because it's just like I stood in front of the Mistweaver talent, and maybe I'm not the best player in the world, but I don't think I'm that much of an idiot. I graduated school, I think that's what they told me, and I couldn't figure out what the talents do. There are so many interactions that if you're not a main Mistweaver priest, you're not going to understand, okay, why do I need 7 interactions for renewing mist to pick a total talent that does healing that's not renewing mist? Like, it's too much. And I feel like they kind of didn't have time to get to Mistweaver. I don't think this is going to last. At the very latest, in the 2nd or 3rd patch of Midnight, Mistweaver is getting pruned. This is not the spec that you're going to be playing throughout the entire expansion, but that's why it's keeping it from going any higher. Now, almost similar to Mistweaver is Preservation, which I'm going to put in the same tier, because I've mained Preservation in the first ever patch that came out in Mythic. I didn't get Cutting Edge, so I was not, you know, top tier Mythic player, but we did get what was the last boss before Razageth. So this is just a context to make you understand that I'm not opposed to playing complex healers, especially in an environment that's moderately or this decently difficult that most people don't get to go into. And that was when people were still figuring out Preservation. We'd had a lot of interactions and a lot of combos that you can do, and now it's even more complex. Now, I don't know if this is a problem of availability, because Preservation right now, at least with the build that I played, had access to everything through the Apex talents and tier sets, and I think I was playing Flame Shaper, having 2 charges of Dream Breath, 2 charges of Fire Breath, having so many Essence Bursts that I did not know what to use it on, and Flame Shaper kind of wants to, in a way at the very least, want you to use them on Emerald Blossom to proc that accelerated healing, and using it on Emerald Blossom is great, but it doesn't feel like Preservation works without spamming Echoes. And now Reversion also gets changed to Marithra's Blessing with the Apex talent, and then you have Stasis that duplicates all of it, and then you have Temporal Anomaly that duplicates everything with weaker Echoes. Do I use Temporal Anomaly for Reversion? Like, it's not, first of all, it's not intuitive because of the loss of Emerald Communion and proper spreading of, is it Lifebind? And how it works, it's not clear what Preservation is supposed to do, because it doesn't have like 1 or 2 goals, and I think specs should have that. 1, max 2 goals of what you're doing. Okay, what is the goal? The goal is to put Reversion on everybody. Okay, what's the best way to do that? Spread Echoes. Okay, what's the goal? Oh, spread Lifebind on everybody and do a combo big heal through heal sharing. Okay, great. But now it feels like Preservation wants to do a little bit of everything, and every little bit isn't enough to keep people up, but if you can do like 3 things, you just explode in the amount of HPS. That's great. This is a very difficult healer to, first of all, understand and actually execute. So if anybody's looking for a more complex healer, I guess B tier would be where you would be at the moment, and you can definitely take Preservation. But personally, I mean, it obviously doesn't match the vibe of the expansion, and I am not a fan of having 17 little tools that do my job. I want 1 or 2 big tools. Maybe they're hard to get to, maybe they would be satisfying to put out. You know what I mean? That's my problem with Preservation. It doesn't feel like that's accomplished in Midnight. Lastly, Restoration Druid. It was going to go into S tier, but I think I'm going to put it into A tier and not the final tier, and I'm going to tell you why. Once again, it has been pointed out by one of our community members in, I think it was during our stream, twitch.tv/Marcelian&Flame, by the way. Catch us live. We're playing some housing today. Well, 2 days ago, when you're watching this video. And I never actually realized the truth about Restoration Druid until it was pointed out to me, and I just kind of took it for granted. It doesn't really heal through HOTS anymore. Now, you're either saying, duh, or you're saying, what the fuck, man, HOTS are so important, you cannot heal without HOTS. And both of you are kind of right, but let me explain, okay? When I mean doesn't heal by HOTS, it means that, okay, I put a Regrowth up, a Rejuve up, Life Bloom, I don't think we have Cenarian's Word anymore, and Wild's Growth, and I let those HOTS save a person and tick them all the way up. That hasn't been true for a very long time. It's not like it's a Midnight thing, and you only really use HOTS to navigate towards a very strong regrowth. Either it's an individual regrowth or it's multiple critting regrowths on the same target. Either way, the healing is coming from regrowth. Now, oddly enough, that seems to be kind of what Holy Priest might want to do, and I don't mind a playstyle that uses HOTS to augment big regrowths, again, if it was a choice. I also like HOTS. I like putting 3 or 4 HOTS on a person, and that can fill their HP bar twice over the course of, I don't know, 20 seconds or something. That was usually accomplished through Flourish playstyles that we used to have years and years and years ago that we don't really have anymore. I think Flourish right now is just a Tranquility change, where Tranquility extends the current dots up on party members, and that's great. I love Tranquility, and I wish Tranquility would get even more love, but I feel like HOTS are just not enough to save a person, not necessarily because of the current Restoration Druid, but also because of the current healing, which hasn't changed enough. You will never be able to have HOTS be that impactful as a healing mechanic until you tone down the damage intake that people have. If people can die in a couple of seconds and HOTS are supposed to get their full value over 20 seconds, obviously HOTS are never going to save anybody, and you will need to put something else on top of it, because people will die before those HOTS manage to get their full value out. So it just so happens that Restoration Druid has been either the best healer in Raid, because it's one of the most efficient ones, since Raid people take less rot damage and less burst damage than dungeons, at least high keys. And in keys, it was only really good whenever you could have those big, meaty, chunky regrowths, at least, unless I'm wrong. And you can let me know in the comment section down below if I'm wrong. But I miss the days when I would blanket my party, maybe 3 or 4 people with rejuves, a couple of them with regrowths, pop a big wild growth, pop a flourish, and then go into cat, and for 20 seconds, nobody needed healing. That was what I loved about Restoration Druid, and because of that, I do have to put it down just to signify that it has an identity crisis. I love playing it. It is kind of fun, and I would rank it a little bit higher, but after that has been pointing out, I feel like the fantasy of the healer spec, like I feel like the spec's name is only really with S and A tier specs at this point, and everything else is debatable or very subject to personal bias. But this is how the healer fun tier list is looking at, and I know you guys have been asking for us to do healer videos, and this one has been a little bit longer than normal, but I hope we answered your prayers, and we will have tanks as well in the future. So hope you enjoyed the video. Also, make sure you check out the new housing video that we have, because housing has just came out, and we have a couple of tips that maybe you don't know about. I'm pretty sure you don't know at least about one of them that could make your housing experience a lot better right here.